We'll convene the Housing Authority meeting first. That's the salmon-colored agenda. The only public item is a closed session report. And Authority Council.
Mr. Chair,
Is there any report?
there was no action to report. Thank
Nope.
you.
That said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Housing Authority.
Second.
Motion second. Council members, cast your votes. All right, motion passes unanimously. Now I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for April 15th, 2014. This time the City Council will convene to consider public matters. Those wishing to address the City Council must submit a completed request to speak form to the City Clerk prior to City Council action. Tonight, invocation will be led by Council Member McCullough.
For you that choose, you may bow your heads. Others may do as please. Heavenly Father, in the precious name of your Son, my Lord Jesus Christ, I ask that you guide us through this meeting tonight, and as you have given us the great honor of being able to be leaders of this city, let us always search ourselves closely and make sure that we're doing the best for the city, not just at the tip of our nose, but also on long term. May we have a successful meeting tonight in looking at these things through your eyes and not just what's on the paper. May we all take and remember that this is the place you've given us to dwell and is blessed of you. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Now if you'd join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for a closed session report. City Attorney, is there any report from closed session of the City Council?
Mr. Mayor, there was no reportable action taken in closed session.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion for presentations.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Council members, cast your votes. Motion passes unanimously.
Mayor and Council, it's Agenda Item 5 that will be presented. Proclamation designating the month of April 2014 as DMV Donate Life Month, Donate Life California Month, submitted by City Clerk.
Do we have someone accepting the proclamation tonight?
And oh yes, she's here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, and
this is a great opportunity to, as the city and a lot of other cities in California are proclaiming April as Donate Life Month, and that is to raise awareness about organ donation. There's about 100,000 people in the country and 20,000 in California that are waiting for organ transplants right now, and a third of these people will die waiting. So it's a really important cause. And I don't know if I have a second. This is my daughter Ruby, my second daughter. We have 3 girls. And when she was born with a liver disorder. And at the age of 2 months, we found this all out, and she was placed on the on the liver transplant waiting list when she was 3.5 months old. And at the age of 7 months and 1 week, she passed away while waiting for a liver transplant. So it's something that we feel really passionate about, is spreading awareness about this cause, and especially families. I know a lot of you, when you go to the DMV and you check yes that you'll be an organ donor. That's a great decision for you. Well, people don't think how it affects children and your families, and maybe having something, God forbid, happen to your child if you would donate organs. So we have started a foundation for her, and we work with Donate Life as ambassadors to help promote this cause. So we really are thankful for Lake Forest, again, proclaiming it as Donate Life Month in this great city. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and we will present this proclamation to you and get a picture
Oh,
here.
yeah. Okay.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you, and thank you very much for your advocacy on behalf of We do have two other proclamations on the agenda here, but there's no one receiving them. So one is Earth Day and one is Arbor Day. So we have proclamations here. I'm sure they will be distributed to the appropriate individuals, and just wanted to acknowledge that. So at this point, we will take a report from our student liaison. I hear you dub as an actor for the 15 Minutes event as well.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Excuse the voice. This is Jeff Dominic from El Toro High School reporting on April 15th, 2014. Today marks the second weekday of El Toro's spring break, and students are making the most of their time off by going on vacations, visiting possible colleges, going to the beach, or just relaxing. When school resumes on Monday, it will be time to crack down on the schoolwork and power through the short time remaining in the school year. Last Monday and Tuesday, El Toro experienced the Every 15 Minutes program, as 10 student participants played out a car crash and 19 student participants were pulled from class to become living dead on Monday, and Tuesday featured a final assembly with a guest speaker who lost her son in an alcohol-related crash. The whole experience was emotionally draining, with no eye left dry after the 2 days were done, and it has already made a huge impact on the students of ET. The coveted male cheer event at ET is underway, with many senior men learning cheer stunts and moves from experienced ET cheerleaders. A routine is scheduled to be performed at the next pep rally in late May. El Toro's Here We Are Club is conducting a donation drive to create care packages for the overseas members of the Marine Corps 1st Law Enforcement Battalion. The ceremony will be held at the Charger Stadium on Saturday, May 3rd at 9:30. The items asked to be donated range from beef jerky to chapstick. We hope we can represent Lake Forest well and donate to this important cause. Lastly, all of ET's spring sports are representing El Toro extremely well in all their games, but here's a special shout out to the boys and girls track team who are both undefeated in league. Also, congrats to Kaylee Demersion, Camila Tarati, Amberly Bark, and Alyssa Pook for running the third fastest time in school history and being ranked 7th in the nation for the 4x1600 relay at the Arcadia Invitational. That's all for tonight. Thank you, and as always, go Chargers.
And Jeff, I actually participated. I was there both days, and you did an outstanding job. And I want to say that seeing the juniors and the seniors watch this emotional time where right in front of their eyes a car crash happened, and they lost 3 of their fellow students in front of their eyes, and it was a traumatic thing. And Jeff volunteered to be the key role on that, and being the DUI driver that day. And they selected Jeff because of his his character. That's basically the easiest way to say it. He's not known to be a partier or a drinker, and so he bore the brunt of that. And I know that was an emotional time for you, but for us to watch, it was emotional too. So thank you for doing that.
My
I'm
pleasure.
sure you saved lives by doing that.
I certainly hope so, so thank you.
Thank you. At this time, members of the public may address the City Council regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and an overall time limit of 30 minutes for the public comments portion of the agenda. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is requested to complete a request to speak form available off to my left here, your right. The completed form is to be submitted to the city clerk prior to an individual being heard by the City Council, and we would also request when you come to the mic that you just state your name and the city that you live in. Madam Clerk, have there been any requests to speak?
Yes, Marcia Rudolph, followed by Aaron Lannon.
Good evening, one and all. Couple things I want to bring to your attention. First of all, there's a flyer that went out to the community, and this is a reminder for those who got it. It's the presentation of what is expected to happen with the I-5 widening. And if somebody didn't get one, I'm sure that you could call City Hall and get more information. It's scheduled for Wednesday, April 23rd from 4:30 to 8 p.m. at the El Toro Water District offices. So, particularly if you're someone who kind of irked at the way things are as far as traffic is concerned, this might be your chance to at least say what you need to say. Second thing, believe it or not, the Restoration Advisory Board of the old El Toro Marine Corps Air Station is still meeting. And we will have another meeting on the 23rd. And at that time, we will discussing what is basically the last site on the old base that does not have a record of decision. And that's Site 1, which is the old ordnance disposal site. It is the one closest to the 241. And so if you're interested in that, you can give me a call, or you can call Southwest Div in San Diego. Third thing, I'm a very proud resident of the city of Lake Forest, and I don't think that I've done anything that would besmirch the name of the city. We have a couple of people who are quite visible, and they are bound and determined to point out every fault and foible that they can think of and point it out, and whether it's true or not, they're pointing it out. And I think particularly if any of these people are thinking about running for city council, they may want to fix their attitudes about the city so that they are positive rather than negative, or come up with solutions rather than just comment on what's wrong. So those of you who that relates to know who you are, and the rest of you, I would suggest that you check with what you see coming from these people during the election cycle to see if they're the kind of person that is proud of our city, or the kind of person that's going to do everything possible to tear it down. And that would include tearing down our sheriff's deputies, tearing down our people who work with the city. So, time has come to fix that. And in closing, I'd like to wish you all a happy Easter and a blessed Passover.
Thank you.
Aaron Lannon, followed by Wayne Hetman.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. I actually gave Stephanie some information that she'll be passing around. I just wanted to come and introduce myself. I'm Aaron Lannon. I'm with Sullivan Solar Power. We're going to be hosting a free educational lunch and learn on May 3rd at Brew Market and Grill. And I just want to make an announcement to let you guys know it's a free, essentially, Solar 101 workshop. We're running a county-wide solar program called the Orange County Solar Program, which Sullivan Solar Power is administering. And but essentially, I just wanted to come and announce the seminars so you know what was happening in the community. I'm really happy that you guys are, dedicating a day to Earth Day and Arbor Day. It's really important, especially for the kids to learn about sustainability, biomimicry, a lot of different things that ties into solar. So kudos on that. You guys are great. And other than that, if you have any questions, I'll send an email and we can meet if you have any questions. I just wanted to make that announcement. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Wayne Hetman, followed by Jim Gardner.
Good evening, I'm Wayne Hetman, and I live at 42 La Perla in Foothill Ranch. And I've prepared a board packet for you about the Alton Park sign that was restored by the City of Lake Forest in Foothill Ranch. With all due respect to Ms. Rudolph, unfortunately I have to point out a flaw in the perfection we have here. So we tried to work, the Foothill Ranch community tried to work with the City of Lake Forest to have our park sign restored after someone drove into it and broke it. And we weren't very successful. It seemed like many of those suggestions were kind of ignored or overlooked. So in the board packet, I prepared a little statement about what the standards of Foothill Ranch are. You may remember that when the City of Lake Forest took over Foothill Ranch, they assured the residents there that we would not have changes there, that the things that the builder put in for us, our walls, our fountains, our statues, our park signs, would stay the same, that things would not change. And this park sign was the first time that there was a change at Foothill Ranch. And when I called about it and pointed out that we use a certain kind of stone, a tan sandstone, and there at the park sign is a tan wall, and up above is gray river rock, and that right at the same spot there's two stones that don't match. The city's solution, which they did last week, was to get large bushes and cover up the tan wall. In other words, hide it and sweep it under the carpet kind of thing. Hide it by putting bushes completely around it so you couldn't see any of the original Foothill Ranch wall. So I found that a little bit much. So I stood by the park sign during this weekend and asked residents as we walked around, and got a petition, included in your board packet as a petition along with the photos of the park sign. In that petition, 115 people signed on for me within the 2 days. 8 people would not sign. 8 people felt that the park sign was Lake Forest standard and they liked it. That's an approval rating for the City of Lake Forest of about 7%. That's not really good. So in that park sign, I also pointed out that the standard, for example, at the new Baker Ranch, where there's a new community park that belongs to Lake Forest, that park has the stone that matches Baker Ranch, the style of Baker Ranch. And when a planned community like Foothill Ranch goes in, and then something needs to be repaired by the city, it really works better if they keep in that architectural style. It's actually more cost-effective. If you're matching something that pre-exists, it should be easier and cheaper for the city to do it. So rather than have a big commotion about it, I would think it would be appropriate for the Parks Department to contact someone. There's a list of names in the petition and in the board packet, to work with us so that it can at least have some kind of remedy, because it's so out of keeping with our community. And a few of the people that I talked to when collecting names, the names of the people that live in Foothill Ranch, many of them asked how much it cost the city to repair it. And that is something I never had an answer to in my communications. I would appreciate that, knowing that. Any questions?
We really can't engage back and forth, but I believe the staff has already been involved, and so we will continue to monitor it from that perspective, and we'll wait to hear back from staff on some of the answers to the questions that you have.
Thank you. And I do have one other statement. I did fill out a Ask Lake Forest, which I believe a city manager oversees and prints for the departments, so that they are knowledgeable of the issues that citizens have. And I waited and never got any response back from that. That's a second reason why I'm addressing the City Council tonight. Thank you for your time.
Well, I
Thank you for
appreciate your
addressing
time,
this.
and we'll also address that. So,
Jim Gardner, followed by Jim Reichert.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, audience. My name is Jim Gardner. I live in Lake Forest. This is part 2 of my State of the City comments. I gave you papers last week. I doubt that you have them now, but that's okay.
I have mine.
Okay, great. Tonight I'm going to, last time I talked about the public safety issues, which those were my main priority. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the discrepancies between promises and what's actually been done. In this particular case, Mayor Robinson, not meaning to embarrass you, but to hold public officials accountable for their promises and to educate the public, I'm going to go through some of that material. I'll have copies if anybody from the audience wants them. I'll leave them on the back seat as well. I think that's important, particularly since we're going into an election sequence, as Mrs. Rudolph recently said, to say what are people saying and what are people doing. And whatever I don't get through today, I'll go through at the next meeting, so I'm not cherry-picking promises. I'm going to go through every one of your 19 promises and give us some background to them. Quote, stop the music jail expansion, work actively to prevent any jail expansion, and stop the transfer of high-risk violent offenders to our family-friendly neighborhood community. That's your quote. Well, we've done nothing to stop the jail expansion. In fact, they're building a $100 million expansion with maximum security cells, and there are already high-risk prisoners sitting there. Quote, second one, quote, reduce traffic congestion, appoint a citizens commission to focus on improving traffic conditions for Lake Forest residences. In fact, you voted no on a traffic commission. In fact, you voted more homes, which can only increase traffic congestion. Promise number 3, and I believe somebody else was here about this one, had the flyer. He wants to open more schools to lower class sizes. I will work with the school district to find ways to build more classrooms and reduce class size, even if it takes investment from the city. We know how that one worked out. There are no new schools, and there are even more kids coming into the existing schools. Quote, implement a sunshine law. In fact, you voted against the sunshine law. Quote, eliminate backroom deals and ensure that the public's voice is heard. Backroom deals like the Brookfield deal, or like the Trumark deal, or like so many. There have been more backroom deals in the last 18 months than the city has seen collectively in its history. Quote, Dwight Robinson will use his business experience to oppose wasteful city spending, end quote. You mean like buying expensive iPads when much cheaper tablets could have performed the same? Well, I've run out of time. Anyway, I'll be back to finish. There are 19. I think I only got through the first 5, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jim Reichert, followed by Paul Simons.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Jim Reichert. I'm a Lake Forest resident, and traffic congestion is my thing. Last June, I wrote a letter to the mayor, and I suggested a traffic committee. I suggested that there be a comprehensive document developed for traffic, to how to improve traffic congestion, that lists everything we could do. And I also recommended that we synchronize traffic lights, blah, 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 blah. And I attached to my letter 15 examples of intersections that got problems. By the way, it still haven't been fixed. And the response I got said, basically, look at the LFTM, the Lake Forest Traffic Mitigation Plan. So I tried to find that, but it didn't exist on your website. So I had to find it through a staff member, and I looked through it. And basically, the LFTM isn't a comprehensive document. It's a plan to basically restripe 10 intersections, maybe add some right turn lanes, but it doesn't include a lot of other things that could be done to those same intersections, and it doesn't list a lot of other intersections that need improvement. So, in March 14th, I wrote another letter suggesting basically let's develop a comprehensive plan. The LFTM is not a comprehensive plan, and I listed about 20 improvements that could be made that aren't even on the plan. And as of today, a month later, I don't have a response. I think that's bad. Somebody that takes as much time as they do to make very positive suggestions on what to do, get an answer, which tells me maybe there isn't one. So my request to you is, can I get an answer to my March 14th letter? Can we please, 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 please develop a comprehensive traffic mitigation plan? And I'm very concerned that if you folks present the current plan to the residents on the 3 meetings that are scheduled in May, you might be a little embarrassed. You might be a little embarrassed. I urged you in my letter to delay those, so that's my request. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. And I'll mention to staff if we can respond to that. That would be great. We do have those 3 meetings coming up in May, and the purpose of those is to talk about what we've done, what we're doing, and then solicit feedback from the community about what they still might want us to do. So I think that's going to be a great opportunity for that, and thank you very much.
Paul Simons.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members. It's really a privilege that I count it to be here this evening. I am your new Southern California Gas Company Public Affairs Manager. I'm your guy. I'm your local representative. So my colleague, Emily France, who served this community for the last few years, has moved on to a different area of the county. And so I'll do my best to fill her shoes. And I've provided business cards for you. I've tried to reach out via email in the last month or so. And I will just be in and around the community. And I just want to make myself available to you. Any issues that do come up having to do with gas or any sort of infrastructure, just reach out and we'll figure it out together. So I look forward to working with you in the months and years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming to our city and introduce yourself.
Thank you.
We've had no further requests.
All right. At this time, this brings us to the consent calendar warrant register, item number 6. All matters listed under the warrant register are considered routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the City Council, the public, or staff request specific items be removed from the warrant register for separate action. Madam Clerk, have there been any requests to remove an item from the warrant register?
We've had no requests.
Okay. Colleagues?
Move item 6.
Support.
Been a motion and a second. So, council members, cast your votes. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to the consent calendar, miscellaneous items number 7 through 17. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the City Council, the public, or staff request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Madam Clerk, have there been any requests from the public?
Yes, items 13, 15, and 16.
13, 15, and 16. Colleagues?
Move the remainder. Make a motion to remove the remainder.
It was also 15.
Okay.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Council members, cast your votes. Those items pass unanimously, and that brings us to item 13, I believe.
Agenda item 13, request for proposals for graphic design services submitted by Deputy City Manager, Director of Management Services, and removed from the consent calendar by a member of the public, Jim Gardner.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and fellow residents. My name is Jim Gardner. I'm from Lake Forest. As you know, for years, I've been asking the city to do a better job in spending more of our money on our own people and businesses. When I first started doing the analysis, the city was spending about 5% of its money on our own people and businesses, and that seemed like it was woefully inadequate. And since that time, the percentage has gone down to 2%. Which is, if you saw from woefully inadequate, that's really woefully inadequate. And they're our people, they're our businesses. What are we doing spending our money in other cities on services that could be provided here in our city? Tonight you're spending or have spent $3 million, and none of it is going to people or businesses here in Lake Forest. That's with the extensions that you're granting and the top 10 companies that you're giving money to. Yeah, there's a couple of $1,000s for a pizza here and there, but the big money is going elsewhere. Now, I understand we don't necessarily have construction firms in Lake Forest, so you have to get a construction firm from somewhere else. I understand all those things. On the other hand, and the reason I picked number 13 is graphic design services. I know there are graphic designers here in Lake Forest we could be reaching out to. I could come up and bore you with the next number 14, which is newsletter printing and mailing. I know those services are here in Lake Forest. I use them myself. So what I'm asking you to do through the staff is to encourage them to look at Lake Forest businesses. And maybe that means contacting the Chamber of Commerce. And maybe that means putting an ad in the Patch. Or maybe that means a little bit extra in order to keep the money here at home. But I think it's well-deserved because that money here at home goes to our tax revenue, goes to our people, et cetera, et cetera. So I encourage you specifically for these two cases, but just in general, always be looking, how can we spend that on our own people and our own businesses? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've had no further requests.
Okay.
I have a question for the city attorney on that. Mr. Smith, on that, relative to purchasing within the city limits, is there a state law that I would say guides us, is a nice way of putting it, on local purchasing preferences? And I know this is quick and off the cuff. If you would prefer to respond at a next meeting, that'd be okay. It's not actually, this is just to go out to design. So you can, want to do it at a future meeting, that's fine with me.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, with regard to professional services, we'd want to probably get back to you about that history. The city has purchasing guidelines now that in many cases take into account geographic proximity for professional services. If that's important, it's included in the valuation criteria for that service. With regard to public contracts, those are contracts for construction of infrastructure. State law dictates that that must be awarded to low bid, and so it would actually, for public construction contracts, be a violation of state law to include local preferences as an overriding factor above the low bid. As to professional services, we can give you a little more information on the history of how those guidelines were developed and how local preferences go into them at this stage in their current iteration.
Okay. Well, I think those are coming back for us to review at some point in the future. You could do it at that time.
They come back regularly, and I think they're due for update this spring. Yeah.
Okay.
So that
do
will
it
be
at
in
that
there.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we move item number 13.
Second?
And a motion and second. Council members, cast your votes. Item 13 passes unanimously.
Agenda item 15, fiscal year 2014-2015 action plan for community development block grant CDBG, submitted by the assistant city manager and removed from the consent calendar by members of the public.
Before you get into that, Mayor Robinson, the reason I'd pulled that is because when this came up about a month ago, I'd wanted to abstain from the public works project portion of it because a portion of that was apparently within 300 feet of my home, and so I wanted to continue that abstention on that.
Okay.
Second.
No, there's public comment here.
Oh, you got, I'm sorry. Withdraw.
Randy Smith, followed by Laura Fisher.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Randy Smith. I'm the program director for Camino Health Center. And I just want to take the opportunity to come out here and introduce myself tonight. Camino has had the pleasure of working with the city since 2000 under the CDBG grant program. And what Camino is able to do with those funds is to take care of the medical and dental needs of the low income and underserved in our community. And specifically, we apply those dollars to Lake Forest residents, and annually that's about 1,100 or so patients that we see, and about 3,200 or so visits. So those are what those dollars go to support. Since I haven't been out here, and in case there are any questions, I would be more than happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Yes, thank you so much for coming up. I'd like to know if in the services that you are providing, I know you've been around a while, do you have any mental health component within it? Are you working with the Orange County Mental Health?
We do work with Orange County Mental Health primarily as a referral source for mutual patients. We are actually in the process of applying for some new federal funding to support the growth of a behavioral health component of our practice. Essentially what we're looking to do is to integrate our primary medical clinic with behavioral health services and bring on board to our clinic a couple of LCSWs that can provide those services. Camino is a federally funded clinic, and so this is a very big push at the federal level right now, and so we're working really hard to be able to respond to that need.
Well, just for your information, mental health, we're getting ready to put a wellness clinic down here in South County for the first time. It's already been approved. It's just in its final stages of approval, and there is a money available for us to work with agencies, so you may want to look into that.
Thank you. I will certainly look into that.
I sit on that mental health board, too. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I actually, so you actually do full service dental work on low income and.
Our dental clinic is full service. The only exception to that is it's for children and for pregnant women. So right now for adult dentistry, we would be making a referral to a local organization that might be able to take care of their needs.
Where are you located?
We're located in San Juan Capistrano, and we serve the entire South Orange County area.
Great. Well, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Fisher, followed by Jorge Rubal.
Good evening. My name is Laura Fisher, and I'm the Executive Director at South County Outreach. And as always, whenever I have an opportunity, I'd just like to come and thank you all for all the ongoing support that the City of Lake Forest affords us. We're extremely proud to have that ongoing support and to be able to assist a little over 2,000 people, local residents of Lake Forest every year through our food pantry and our homeless prevention services. So thank you so much.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Dr. Jorge Rubal is available to speak if you have questions regarding the Laguna Beach Community Clinic. So.
Good evening, council members. Much like El Camino, we're also one of the safety nets in Southern Orange County for health care. The Laguna Beach Community Clinic is very proud to be serving the citizens of the city, and actually in terms of our patient population, it accounts for close to 16% of our 16,000 visits per year that come down to see us on a yearly basis, which roughly accounts to about $400,000 of our yearly budget that we spend on citizens from the city. We're very proud to provide quality health care for them, and we do provide some subspecialty care as well, whether it's through our HIV specialist or our diabetic specialist, as well as our OB specialists as well. So we appreciate the money that you guys are helping us with, as it's, even though the Affordable Health Care Act is in place, when you look at the reimbursements, it still doesn't cover the cost to provide the quality of care that our patients need. So thank you once again.
Thank you. There might be a comment here. Councilwoman McCullough.
I know that the clinic has been open quite a while, and you've done a lot of good work, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
And but I also know that you have need for expansion. Have you been able to obtain some properties where you can expand the program?
In terms of property?
More beds.
The property that we're currently located on, we actually own the land and the property, which is a great benefit for us in terms of efficiency and cost. We're looking to potentially lease in the future some office buildings nearby and make that where the administration would be, and then we'd be able to open up some rooms on the second floor to open up some more rooms.
Yeah, I'm on the 2020 Commission for Ending Homelessness, and I'm always looking for a spot that we can put a few beds in.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's that and parking over there for us.
yeah, I know the hardest thing you have is the parking. But thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
We've had no additional requests.
Okay, bring it back to council.
Move the item.
Second?
It's been a motion and a second.
Oh, let's see, Mayor, I think what you did last time was bifurcate the capital expenditures for ADA and vote on that separately with Mr. Bass absent, if that's all right. That'd be
Okay.
up to you.
If you want to be a part of the other part
On
of the
everything
vote, then
else?
that's fair. So I
For
guess,
the ADA ramps till a second vote, if that's okay.
So then, at this point, we'll include everything except the ADA ramp
Yeah,
portion.
if the maker of the motion and the second's
So-
okay with that.
I'll make that motion, exception of the ADA ramps.
Second it?
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to move the agenda item separate, the ADA ramps. Any discussion? Okay, council members, cast your votes.
Now, I'd like to make
portion
now I'd like to make the motion, because I'm the one that used most of the ADA ramps. I'll make the motion that we accept the ADA ramps.
Second?
Okay. And
And we'd ask Mr. Bass to remove himself from the dais. His properties, for the audience, his properties within 500 feet of some of this infrastructure that's proposed.
Understood. Something that we all have to abide by. So at different times, we all have to recuse ourselves from a vote. And so there's been a motion and a second on just the ADA ramp portion of the item. Any discussion? Okay, council members, cast your votes. Motion passes 4-0 with Councilman Bass abstaining.
The next item is Agenda Item 16, Request for Proposal for Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Consulting Services, submitted by Assistant City Manager and removed from the consent calendar by a member of the public, Marcia Rudolph.
Good evening. Marcia Rudolph, former mayor and 19-year member of the City Council. This item I find to be not necessary, with all due respect to the city manager, who I have enormous respect for. This was in-house for a number of years. And with block grants and what they provide, it's important that, I think, that whoever is dealing with that be in-house, because there are things that come up, there are issues that come up, there are opportunities that come up, and unless you have someone who is in-house, who is daily, touching base with the various members of the staff, we may miss an opportunity for a block grant, for some funding that would help our citizens or assist the city. I do believe that it is worthwhile to have somebody in-house. Now, I know that the person that was doing this is no longer with the city, and so we have to do something to replace that person or to educate someone to take over that position. I think it is well worthwhile for the city to move ahead with educating one of our wonderful staff to move into the position of overseeing our block grants, because I think that there's enough of a benefit to having that expertise in the building all the time rather than having to pick up the phone and call a consultant who may not know the special needs of the people in Lake Forest. So I cannot support going out to a bid for this position. I think it should be handled in-house, and I think it would be cheaper that way anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. There been any other comment? Public comment?
No, Your Honor.
Great. Bring it back to council. I'll entertain a motion, or...
I would like to address it.
Okay. Councilwoman McCullough.
You want to? Thank you. I have a serious concern here because when we took over the block grant, as you know, that when we became entitlement city with redevelopment, that's because we wanted to take and run our own redevelopment money. It was not being spent in our city. It was being spent all over the county. When we took over block grant, the agencies of our choices that would benefit our city was not being given the monies for block grant. In fact, there took a supervisor, Getty Vasquez, to walk our area with me to show him that we had homeless here before they would even give us any block grant money for this area because they claimed we didn't have homelessness here. Now we're going to put it in the hands of a consulting, which that to train someone that's already in-house would be a lot less money than getting a consultant, and we still have control over our block grant money. So I will be voting no on this portion of our for this consultant.
Okay. Would the staff like to respond to that in any way?
Mr. Mayor, member of the City Council, certainly we'll have Mr. Bellmer do that. It's in his area of responsibility. Fundamentally, we're looking at a dual approach to this, in which we do use in-house staff with the assistance of a consultant, but I'll let him respond to the question more fully.
Great, thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, that's correct. Previously, the CDBG grant was exclusively coordinated by our former housing manager. And we do have other staff who had familiarity with the grant, even in Elaine's tenure. But what we have found, which is not uncommon, looking at how other cities address the complexities associated with the CDBG grant, is that they use a combination of in-house resources and technical expertise through consultant services. And that's essentially what we're proposing to do here. So we would never not have an in-house staff person that has familiarity with the grant. But we think overall, as we've learned through the previous 6 months, that there's just efficiencies associated with having staff generally administer the grant and retaining a consultant who has that technical expertise, because he or she is dealing with those technical matters with multiple cities concurrently, as we are articulate in the report. So overall, we think the retention of these services would be a more efficient model of service delivery. It would potentially result in fiscal savings to the city ultimately, and we think also provide flexibility as to how we ultimately replace that housing manager position, potentially with someone that would work on both housing matters and a broader scope of services for the department, including economic development, which is a burgeoning area for the city.
Councilwoman McCullough.
In your staff report, I did not see a savings in here. Is that something you just didn't put in, or what?
Members of the council, we're evaluating that concurrently as we prepare and build the budget for fiscal year 14-15. Have yet not ultimately decided how we would replace that housing manager position, but our goal is to do so in such a way that we provide a broader scope of flexibility with those staff resources and potentially fiscal savings to the city.
Mayor, I'm not finished. Thank you. Another reason I am so concerned about this, as you know, I'm the chair of the Housing Authority, and we deal with the block grants. And with HUD cutting the block grant monies and freezing this and freezing that, for us to go through the expense of putting a consultant in place on an indefinite basis is a concern when there's a possibility of us getting a lot less block grant money, and block grant money that could be going to some of the things that we need to provide, the services that you've just seen represented here, and the things that we do here, the ADAs and the other things we do with the money, for us to cut a portion out with the money so iffy right now with all the cuts is giving me great concern. So, or I would like a little clarity. Sorry I wasn't able to get to you earlier on this. I've been kind of busy, but I would like a clarity. Are you planning on putting this consultant in full-time until you get someone up to speed that, or personnel to take over the place of our employee that is retired, or are you planning on doing this temporarily, or what? Because the county we've gotten cut, and all the other agencies that are entitlement cities, they're going to get cut. If they haven't, you already haven't received it, you will be receiving it. HUD is cutting back, and they're changing the component of it. So when that happens, we're going to have less money, and a portion of it we're going to be paying for a consultant that we could have an in-house doing it. So that's one of the things I'm concerned of. So are you planning on doing this permanently? Or are you planning on doing this part-time until you can get somebody up to speed and trained? I need some feedback on that.
Certainly, Mayor and members of the council. In terms of the number of hours that the consultant would actually work for the city, whatever their term, it would be part-time, which has been our experience in the last 6 months. They're essentially an augment or a complement to our staff resources. And the consultant focuses more on the technical components of the grant. Staff focuses its time and attention more on the general administrative components of the grant. We're proposing a 3-year term to this RFP, but each of those years would be subject to an annual receipt of grant funds. If there's no grant, there would certainly be no contractual services. We make that clear in the contract. We make it clear in the RFP. So we actually mentioned in the staff report that there's a great deal of uncertainty regarding the CDBG program, and we think that's actually one of the benefits associated with this service model, because we can adjust our actual resources, be they in-house or consultant, as the grant dictates. If the grant is eliminated, we would no longer need consultant services. Certainly. So we think this combination actually addresses the uncertainties associated with either a significant reduction in the grant, or which may no longer make the grant feasible to receive and implement, or a whole-scale elimination of the grant.
Just when I was looking at the report, it sounds like how it's currently been working. The manager of economic development and community preservation has been the one that's been working closely with the consultants. Is that how it's going to continue?
That's something we're currently evaluating.
Okay.
Mayor, what I would like to do in the recommended action in order to make this where I would be able to vote on it, I would like it to have a report of balancing of what it's costing us, and say like he says this is a 3-year RFP, and every 6 months if we could have an update on what's going on as far as how much it's costing us, and also what types of block grant money is coming in. I'm not anticipating the block grant money going away, but it is going to be cut considerably less than Washington can find another pot of money to tap into. Some have already received their notices, and the notices are going out of the cuts. And also about getting a person up to speed in that position in order to take, and I don't want to just blanketly put a consultant in there when there's in-house could be done, and with this money being on very shaky ground. And I'd like it where I could justify it within my mind with the knowledge that I have concerning block grants over all the years before I ever even got on this council, and since I've been here. I am concerned with us putting in place something that the money is not stable, and then we'd have to dip into our general fund or cut something else to keep it continued, when we can go ahead and get someone trained and work with it. And I know it's part-time, but a lot of times part-time go into full-time. And I think this is something we should have anticipated and got somebody in place and trained when we knew that this person was leaving. When we took over, she was here, and we trained her, and we got county staff came in and even helped and stuff like that. Well, I'm concerned with putting this in place, and the block grant money is so iffy right now. Now, things may level off over within these 3 years, but right now, the block grant money is on a roller coaster, and until Washington get more stable with their money, I'm not for putting our city at risk, stuck in a 3-year contract without an out when we need to, and a constant monitoring of it to see how that contract goes. And that's what I would propose if when we get through with our discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Voights?
Do we have approximate cost? $22,000 I saw in the conclusion. Is that maximum? Or
That's what we anticipate. We mentioned in the report that using the past 6 months as an empirical example, we thought we would spend more, but we've spent considerably less. But that doesn't diminish the benefit of the expertise of Mike Linares as an example of a consultant who provides those services. We've benefited greatly from that. So not to exceed $22,000, but likely less. We would manage that as the complexities of the grant evolve. But again, this contract is just the RFP at this point in time to solicit services. And of course, we'd bring the contract back to the council for its consideration. And like all of our contracts, we'd have the ability to terminate the contract not only on a yearly basis, but with 30 days advance written notice. That's a standard provision in our contract. So we think this provides the flexibility we need as the grant may evolve.
Councilman Bauer.
I have a couple questions. I know you identified 22,000 as not to exceed, but I noticed in the previous agenda item on the CDBG plan for that, there's 84,000 set aside for administration. So it does seem to me, at least, that you allow a fair amount of admin money for staff to be working on this too, in addition to the consultant. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor, Council. And actually, this year is a little bit of a unique year. 20% of our grant on an annual basis may be used for admin. This year is unique because we have to prepare a new consolidated plan. So in that 20% admin, which we note is $84,000, we're paying the portion of the in-house staff person that will work on this grant, the consultant we propose to retain, and all the costs associated with the con plan.
That's the other thing is on Councilmember McCullough's suggestion about periodic review of this. Just throw it out for consideration. I like that idea. We do the action plan CDBG. I guess in March. Wonder if that's an appropriate time to just tie it in with the action plan when it comes before us, as to whether to consider it, or should we do that evaluation beforehand about the need for the ongoing of the service?
Certainly, in that point in time that we're preparing the action plan, which begins in March, we have an inclination from HUD as to what the grant will be that year.
Yeah.
So certainly, that would be a good test or barometer for us to know how are we going to look in that year. And if we think our grant's going to be significantly cut, if we've retained a consultant as we propose, then we would certainly adjust those hours as would be needed.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. You have a comment?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay. Well, I'll a couple comments here, but one of the things I love about Lake Forest is that we are a contract city, and we're not like some of the cities up north, especially in LA County, that are full-service cities. And I think something like this gives us the opportunity to bring in a consultant, again, to help us in a small way, not doing everything, but help us in a small way and bring a significant level of expertise that you're clearly paying for, but you don't have to pay a full-time person to do. So one of the things I really appreciate about this city, there are many, but that's definitely one of them, and I think that it's really helped us run in a very fiscally conservative manner and provide a number of services in the community without having a significant number of employees. So I think that's a positive. I'm not opposed to doing updates. I do like to keep the agenda as light as possible. So if we were, just because I think there's a lot of very weighty issues that we want to focus on, and I think that it's best that we do that during the public session. If we combined it with that March meeting, or that March agenda item that's clearly there every year, I could support that. If we were looking at something beyond that, my preference would be that it came across as a memo report to us rather than an agenda item that could potentially become politicized or something of that nature.
Mayor, I don't have a problem with it being in the manager's update. It doesn't have to be on the agenda, but I would like an update on a regular basis every 3 to 6 months. That's where I'm at on that, so that in order for me to be able to support the motion, I do need that update. That's very vital because things are very elusive there on the federal level, on not only in block grant and HUD, in the Section 8 vouchers. All of that stuff is just as liquid as a glass of water spilling over, and I want to make sure that we're updated. And as things go down, we may continue to even past the 3 years, but if they go up, then we need to take and consider that also. So I would like that update. It doesn't have to be on the agenda, but unless there's a problem in it, then we need to put it on the agenda. But I can just take it through manager's update or a memo.
Okay. So I think the initial request, and it was adjusted a little bit, but initially it was a twice a year, and she mentioned 3 to 6 months, so I think it sounds like she'd still be okay with the twice a year.
I'll be happy.
Is that something staff feels would be okay? And just for my own information, what would you expect amount of time that you'd have to put into something like that, just so that I've got an idea?
Just for clarification, if we're updating the council on how that contract administration is going, for example, and the number of staff hours versus consultant hours and total cost, that's not a significant effort. Okay. We have those readily made.
Okay, great, fantastic.
So can I make a motion then? Or?
Yeah, I think.
May I make a motion that we refined that be twice annually reported back to us with that RFP, because this is just an RFP. This is a request for proposals going out, so that would be included in that.
So in a manager's report or a memo of some sort, I think.
Yeah, a second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, council members, cast your votes. Did you get them all? Or are you missing one?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Not wrong. That brings us to the discussion item number 18.
Agenda item 18, mid-year budget review submitted by Director of Finance, City Treasurer.
Mr. Members of the council, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Neves, who I believe has a PowerPoint presentation to walk you through, I think in summary fashion, the more pertinent details related to our mid-year, which is, I think, really good news in terms of the city's fiscal position. So, Mr. Neves?
I was only going to accept good news tonight. So
it's only good news. Mayor, council, good evening. Let's get the PowerPoint is up. The mid-year budget review being presented to the City Council is to report and adjust the actuals for the first half of the fiscal year. The city has had a strong tradition of conservative fiscal management and planning, and as such has very strong reserves. Tonight we're going to walk you through the mid-year budget review, city's operating budget, and a few projects in the 2013-2015 capital improvement projects budget. A couple topics of discussion tonight. I'll give you a brief overview of the economic outlook for the city of Lake Forest and its revenues. I'll give you some brief overview of the general fund revenues and where they're going, the general fund expenditures, other fund revenues, other fund expenditures, and some capital projects. Economic outlook for Lake Forest is looking very good. Our sales tax, property tax, TOT, major revenues that come into our general fund are all up and continue to see growth in those through the remainder of this fiscal year and into next fiscal year as we build the 14-15 budget. So it's promising to see all this, since we did go through 3 or 4 years of quite a tough recession. And even though we had a tough recession, Lake Forest still had balanced budgets through that recession. So it's looking promising. The general fund budget is balanced and has a $2.3 million surplus before transfers after these adjustments. General fund and other fund revenues are all up, like I was stated. Reserves are fully funded. We're actually going to add more money to our reserves here in the city of Lake Forest, and the city is in solid financial condition. Here's a little detail on the general fund revenues. Like I was saying, taxes are up almost $1.8 million since the beginning of the fiscal year. Property taxes are up $1.2 million. Of that $1.2 million, $700,000 is residual from the redevelopment agency. So that is one-time money that will come back to the city. That did come back to the city from the County of Orange. The rest of it will be ongoing revenue. Sales tax is up almost $500,000 from $12.9 million to $13.4 million. So businesses around Lake Forest are continuing to grow and see expansion. TOT, or transient occupancy tax, is up almost $200,000 from $2.7 million to $2.9 million. So our local hotels and motels are starting to see more customers at their doors. Franchise fees, which consist of cable, gas, electric, and trash, we're finally starting to see a turnaround. The last few years, these were all headed down slightly. The finals in fiscal year 12-13 started to see a little uptick, and this year we're seeing more of an uptick on all those franchise fees. User fees are up almost $2.2 million. User fees are related to building permits, plan check fees. This is all the OSA development that has started. We have seen our original estimates were about 354 permits being pulled for the OSA. As of today, we have 819 permits pulled for the OSA. Other revenues were up about $100,000. Shop and dine revenues up $20,000, doing really well on shop and dine. And then legal reimbursements are also up roughly about $80,000, $90,000. Let's take a look on the other side of the coin, general fund expenditures. Operating costs are up 2.7. As I was saying, revenues are up 4.1. Costs are up 2.7. The majority of these big increases on both revenues and costs is the OSA permits coming in for the housing development. Personnel is up. The adjustments roughly $0.3 million. Operations and maintenance $2.2 million, and capital $2 million. I'll give you a little detail on the operations and maintenance. Is the building permits, the plan check, and engineering cost, all the contracts dealing with getting those permits issued for the OSA. That's the big increase, both on the development services budget and the public works budget on the engineering side and on the planning side. Those are all offset by those permit fees. New capital equipment and furniture, we did put, the sports park is going along very well. As you see out there, the scoreboards are up. We'll see them lighted pretty soon. This new capital equipment and furniture for the sports park is $200,000 we're asking you for. That is to furnish the sports park facility. Since it's going along so well, we're pushing this up into this fiscal year so we could start the purchasing process on all the furniture and equipment. So here's the general fund budget as a whole. The revised beginning balances, you've got $18.8 million in fund balance. The new revenues are $40 million. Expenditures, $37.7 million. And as like I was saying, you have $2.3 million surplus. That's a growth of, at the beginning of the year, we had $881,000, just under $1 million surplus. So we're up $1.3 million on our surplus here in the city of Lake Forest. Transfers out are $1.3 million, so the ending fund balance would be $19.8 million. Those transfers are roughly $450,000 to the city's capital improvement fund for future projects, and almost $800,000 for reserves. Here's our reserve balances. We started the year with almost $18.6 million in reserves. We're adding $800,000, and the ending balance is $19.4. That stays within your policy of 40% reserves for the city of Lake Forest. Here are some other funds and adjustments. Other fund revenues are up $20.9 million. This is entirely related to the OSA. We projected at the beginning of the year about 350 permits being pulled for housing. We're already at 819. We're projecting well over 900 before the end of the fiscal year. That increase is what's bringing in your $20.9 million. So sports park maintenance impact fee is up almost $300,000 from original estimates. FCPP impact fee, $1.5 million. Liftum impact fee up over $1 million. Your OSA capital projects impact fee, $17.1 million. That's what's building the sports park, that fund right there, the capital improvement projects fund for the OSA. Park development impact fee is up almost $3 million. That is money that was sent to us from Portola Development in their developer agreement. At certain points, they owe us money. This money will start the development of the Portola Park up in Portola Hills when that gets going. The Saddleback Ranch Road impact fee, that is also from Portola. That's $120,000 they sent the city to help with the design of the Saddleback Ranch Road that we went through the community meetings with. Some other fund revenues. We're making an adjustment on a grant we got from OCTA, SLPP grant. We usually spend all of our money on our overlay and slurry sill in the city each year for a Measure M. This will replace $400,000 of that money this year, and so we can use the $400,000 it's replacing on additional overlay and slurry sill in future years. So that's a grant that we got from OCTA. OSA 2.0 capital projects impact fee, about $200,000. That's Brookfield and Truemark starting to send some money. I'm sorry, it's not Truemark anymore. It was sold to, somebody would have to help me on that. Taylor Morrison. On the expenditure side, we're seeing some increase, $11.5 million in expenditures. Gas tax, some signal maintenance, about $42,000 increase we're asking for in the Public Works budget. CDBG, Public Service Grants and Housing, we're actually received a little more money this year from CDBG we were informed of, so we're adding that to the CDBG budget. We're creating a new fund for AB 939 recycling grant money of $40,000. We will receive for this year and next year from the trash hauler $40,000 to help with our recycling throughout the city. The big adjustment this year is the sports park budget adjustment. In the the 2-year capital improvement projects budget, 2013 to 2015, we budgeted $33 million in the current fiscal year and $10.5 million in fiscal year 14-15. We are asking the council to move that $10.5 million up into the current fiscal year because the sports park is going so well. We are going to need to spend some of that money in this current fiscal year. So we're going to put the whole entire budget into this current fiscal year. The Saddleback Ranch Road design, that's the appropriation side of that money, $120,000. We're creating a new capital projects budget for that for $120,000 so we can start the design on that road. And then the Portola Park design, the $315,000, you saw on the revenue side. This is for the Portola Park up in Portola Hills. And then, of course, the OCTA SLPP grant, this is the expenditure side for the grant. We'll replace our Measure M money with this money. And then CDBG ADA Phase 7, we got an additional $37,500 and a small adjustment to the AQMD fund, traffic signal maintenance of about $4,400 on a capital improvement projects budget. So overall, the city's operating and capital budgets, our beginning balances are $63.9 million. Revenues coming in this year, $90.8 million. Expenses, your operating is $41.9, your capital is $47.1. You'll have $89 million in expenses. You'll add $1.8 million to fund balance in all funds in the city, and ending balance would be $65.7 million. With that, I can answer any questions that the mayor or the city council has.
you know, what can I say but wow? Lake Forest is in strong fiscal standing, so that's what a great report for us this year. But you know, most importantly, it's the foresight of the city council and prior city councils that actually allowed us to move forward with the OSA and the project and the development we have. And fortunately, we had that land that was still available to us for development. So, what a great testimony of what we're doing with that in that sports park, which will be a magnet for all of South Orange County.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for this report and this paper here. For anybody that is holding on to these, this report that you just gave us deletes that item on this paper that we are in financial dire or so dragging far behind our neighbors. And so I thank you. Unfortunately, the person that's handing it out has left early, but I would like to make sure I make note that I'd like for the city clerk to give me a copy of this tape, because you know, people are quick to swallow a lie, but the truth kind of wins out. Thank you so much.
Councilman Bass.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the public who remain for this item. There are not very many, but you know, I am admittedly biased in this area, but you know, budget, I think, is the single most important policy document adopted by a city on an annual or every 2-year basis. That's not discounting the general plan, but that's done not that frequently. But it does say what the city's going to be doing and what it's not going to be doing, and how it's going to be effectively, or in some other cities' cases, not Lake Forest, ineffectively using the funds. You know, there are a lot of ways that people can, you know, sort of adjust or look at numbers. And yeah, we're spending, you know, quite a bit of money on capital projects. That is money that has not only coming in now, but has been set aside for a number of years. So the fact that it looks like maybe some of the money is being spent that is not in the current revenue is because money has been saved up by previous city councils for these projects. To build a you know, a sports park of this magnitude without incurring any debt is a tribute to the leadership of the council and the staff. You know, it's you know, they seem like to some degree huge adjustments that are being made, but you know, some of the stuff you just can't accurately project 18 months in advance. I mean, I don't think anyone would have thought that the economy would have turned around to the extent that it did, at least in the local area, this quick. I think that this is the amendment, proposed amendment is sound, well-funded, well thought out, and I want to commend the staff for the work on it. And that's all I have to say.
Great. Any other comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Councilman Voigt stepped out just for a minute here, so just let the record reflect that.
Do we still want a motion?
Yeah, I think it's...
Move staff recommendation.
Okay, so there's a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve staff recommendation. If there's no discussion, council members cast your votes. Item carries 4-0 with Councilman Voigt's temporarily absent.
Agenda item 19, legislative and regulatory matters submitted by city manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, we've provided you an update as it relates to a bill being sponsored by the city and introduced and authored by Assemblyman Don Wagner. It's AB 2647. There were significant amendments to the bill that were worked out in conjunction between the city and the County of Orange. The bill is essentially accomplishing the very same thing that the original version did, that the council so desired. What it actually ended up doing was giving the county overabundance of caution as it relates to their debt, as it relates to the project area. They become satisfied with the language that was submitted to the Legislative Council, is now out in print. And I would add that the County Board of Supervisors unanimously supported AB 2647. So it has all support, no opposition at this point. So it looks very promising. You can see that the language we've added, the new language for your review. However, it does essentially do what it is that we wanted it to do. With that, we'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have, particularly about this bill or other items under Ledge Matters.
Councilwoman McCullough.
Dave was first.
I just want to thank City Attorney Scott Smith in working on this. I suspect that there was some level of frustration at times in working with County Council and others on this, and that may be an understatement. But to hang in there and get essentially both parties, both sides, to jointly support this legislation, I think is a major victory, not for the city and also for the county. And thank you, Mr. Smith.
Councilwoman McCullough.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Scott Voigt was able to bring this bill down to the League of California Cities when we were there in Ontario, and I was able to give it to the League staff, so they will be lobbying it and helping to move it along. So it was good that the timing was that they were down on this end where we could get it to them quickly, and it was hand-delivered. And one of the League lobbyists that I have worked with so many years is Dan Carrigan, and he's the one that's going to be lobbying that. He's got a very good rapport across the street, so I'm feeling very positive about it. So thank you, staff, and thank the League for having Dan down there where we could get it in his hands. I'm expecting good results.
Thank you. Do we know where it stands right now? Is it stuck in a particular committee? Is it made through certain
I believe we may have an update. So, Carla, do you have an update as to the status right now?
Yes, Mayor and City Council. The bill will be heard before the Assembly on Local Government Committee next Wednesday, April 26th. So that is the next step for the bill before it moves forward and advances in the legislative process.
Okay. And has our government affairs consultant been involved with this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the entire time. He's working with the author's office. We are continuing to seek out co-authors for this bill. We think that that's going to be very possible. At this juncture, it appears that it would be positively received by committee. However, in the instance that we need to be there to testify, we'll be certainly doing that. But at this juncture, it looks very promising.
Okay. So, to my colleagues as well, if you happen to know any of the assembly members on the local government committee up there, if it's going to be heard next week, then I'd encourage you to reach out and at least show them that it's something that you want to see passed, so how important it is to the city.
I've already lobbied you.
Great. Fantastic. If there are no other comments, then I'll entertain a motion. Or I guess it's just a receive and file, correct? So, okay, receive and file. We need a motion to receive and file.
No, but I think we like it for the record.
Okay. All right.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Council members, cast your votes. Item passes 4-0 with Councilman Voigt's temporarily absent. Brings us to our reports, City Manager's report.
I have nothing further this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Bass.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Councilwoman McCullough. And before she starts, I'll just say it has been I guess, I don't know if policy is the word, but it's been something that we've done for a while, that when some of the council members attend League of Cities, we grant a little bit more time for them to explain or talk about their experience at League of Cities and some of the things that they brought back. So I'm granting her a little bit extra time for that.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I attended the League of Cities. I'm on 2 policy committees at administration, and that deals with one of the, I'm only going to give you the things that was the most prevalent. If you need more, I'll do it, and I always turn over to Carlos anything that he needs to keep a watch on for us. The internet voting and same-day voting is the new thing that's coming to play. And we had the head over all the voting for Los Angeles, I think it was. No, Sacramento, I'm sorry. And he was explaining some of the problems that we were having, and we gave our input on how we feel that that's going to be a problem. They haven't got it perfected, so since they don't have it perfected, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board after all of us gave our opinion. It was quite lengthy that we were discussing the internet voting. And on Housing Mobile Home Task Force, there's an Ellis law that is being abused and used in San Francisco to take older property from property owners, and they feel that some of that Ellis law will be attempted to be used in the Mobile Home Task Force. There are several things that are pending on legislation. I'll give Carlos a copy of the list, or he can go online and get it. I'm going to go into my my mental health. I attend to mental health, and we, as you heard when I was mentioning to one of the nonprofits that was here, El Camino, mental health is going to open up a South County wellness center. The wellness center is you can drop in. It's generally open overnight. It'll be the very first one in our area. Also, with the Saddleback Church Mental Health Conference, there was a component missing that I had observed when I was there, and that component was helping to train family members how to recognize when it's time to call in mental health for assistance, whether it's a teen, a young child, or an adult. They had lots of testimony and a lot of how it was and how they are, but they didn't have the training component. So mental health will be the next conference that is held. They will be putting in the training component wherever it's held, whether it's held at Saddleback or wherever. It was a very well-attended conference, over almost 4,000 people, but the training component is very, very important, because whether you have a senior that may or may not be going into Alzheimer's, and you take and check some of the, you'll know the signs of checking the behavior so you can get them on meds and get them helped, or whether it's your child that is acting out in a way that is not acceptable behavior, rather than punishing them in some way. So you need to know the signs of mental health to find out if you need to get it early. The earlier you get it and get the treatment, the better off you are. So this is one of the highlights that will be on the next conference. Senior Citizen Transportation, it was on mobile homes. The Mobile Home Task Force was reenacted. I wasn't there in January because of illnesses in my family, but they did not dissolve it. They just didn't do anything. So now it's back on the scope, and they are also it's generally the manufactured housing owners and elected officials, but they now are going to have one person outside of that, the GMLOS. No. It's Golden State something. Mobile home owners, I think it is. They are now going to be invited up at the table. They had a big conference this past weekend. They came and spoke and gave a lot of information. They, along with the task force now, and even the region and our county is looking at it, they are concerned throughout our state now on when mobile home owners close down or gouge rent, it creates a void because the people are put on the street, and especially with seniors, oftentimes they don't have any living family depending on their age. And so no city has enough available housing where they could put even an eighth of the people that are put out of their mobile home into available housing. And when it's senior, you're talking about a possible frightening them into death. We've had that death situation happen right here in our city, where a lady dropped dead over the fear of getting put out of her mobile home. Senior citizen transportation, we're having the Southern California Associate of Government and OTCA come in and speak to us on the transportation for mobility of seniors. Our city does a pretty good job on the mobility of senior, but there is some tweaking that needs to be done in our city and many of the cities throughout our county. Some cities are doing a better job, and we need to work together and check in with each other and see how we could fit it within our city. And the Senior Citizen Advisory Council is having meetings concerning how to engage seniors, not just only in their senior and their local senior citizens, but with the resources that out, how we can get those resources to the ones that do not come to the Senior Citizen Hall. They also, at the Senior Citizen Advisory Council, was the time for the hearing where we vote and make sure that we are doing according to the American Older Adult Act, and that's a hearing we have to go through once a year to make sure the funding keep coming in, and you still could be, our county can be classified as an office on aging. The I-5 widening, we had a meeting in three of the tracks. My track had two meetings. I was able to attend both. They originally, when I found this on our, which was off our city scope because they claimed it did not impact us, when I went to the meeting in Mission Viejo, the manager, one of the project managers for Caltrans or OTCA, whichever one it was, had said they were planning on putting a couple of ramps on Los Alisos. Those are totally off the board now. They are going to be in widening the freeway, and they're going to leave one lane, a room for one more lane in case in the future the city needs to put in a lane. I said cities don't put lanes on freeways. That's Caltrans and OTCA. So I kind of called them on that. They took that one back, but they will be taking in, leaving a spot for that. We have they are supposed to be getting in touch with our staff and working with our staff, because now when we originally got the sound wall, Laguna Hills did not want it, but now they're having problems with the noise, and I'm asking them to unify them, and the beautification of walls were not out in those days, and they're supposed to work with staff so it'll be consistent and have beauty. They also, like I had stated earlier when I first brought this here to the council, my house will be impacted. I'm the only one that the property go all the way down, and they had already taken several lanes of my property, and now they want to lease a portion to take some more, and that's going to be quite a little thing there. They fixed my wall, not the wall, they fixed the ground that they've messed up already before they can use it free if they fix the ground. That's the proposal that's on the table, and I'm not taking it off. Otherwise, they better stay off my land or get a court order. The Bonnie Blast, I attended the Bonnie Blast. It was wonderful as always, but, you know, we always can perfect things. And one of the things that I did not like in the Bonnie Blast, we had vendors there in trucks that are totally out of even out of South County. That I did not like. We've had a school come in and need a way of raising money. We have nonprofits here in our city that needs a way to raise money, and I've already talked to Ron concerning it. He said there was a problem with the health department and parking. I gave him some suggestions on the parking, that give them a place to park. If they're not there to sit up and get their cars back over to the place to park before we start, then they have to hike it in. But the health department, we had this, if you remember, with one of our local communities that has been having a neighborhood garage sale for many years before we were ever a city, and the health department came in and shut them down. And I personally talked with them and the person that was in charge, and the things that needed to be tweaked to make it where they still could sell their food was very simple, and one was sanitation, that sanitize, and a paper towel, and the other thing was for them to wear gloves. So, there's not, I don't think anybody's checked to see exactly what it was, and Ron said he would be checking with them. One of the people that's over that health department, I worked with them many years when I was volunteering at the county, so I will help if needed, but I do feel we need to use local. We do have a person coming here. Some of the things that this gentleman say does make sense. Some is way out there, but this is something that we can work with and make sure our booster clubs and different things that we are able to let them take in and do the different foods. It can be done, and I think we need to work on that. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to wish everybody a very happy Easter. Make sure you stay safe. Thank you, staff. You've done an excellent job, but I do have a statement that I asked you to give me an opportunity to say something.
Can you just be brief?
I will be as brief as I possibly can if you would give me that. Thank you so much. I received this last month when I came in. It's supposed to be the real Meet the Mayor Robinson, and I don't know where this is coming from, and I'm sorry that Mr. Gardner isn't here because he's the one who gave it to me, but please give me a copy of this so I can send it to him. There were some things that was said on here that was very hurtful to me. As anybody that know me know, I love my little city. And I feel that we are a city, we are a community, we are family. And when you put down my officers, you've put me down. When you put down my city, you've put me down. When you put down my staff, you put me down. And at me as an individual, I don't like it. Now, I could be silent and ignore it, but when it continues and it continually get in my face, and when I came back in town, I found out that I wasn't able to go to the leadership breakfast or lunch. I was out in Ontario on the policy committees, but when I came back in town, I found out that our guest speaker, the baseball player that was here, his family, him and his wife was here. They were handed this mess. Now, people say that they want businesses and transparency and all this stuff. Why would you desecrate the city that you live in with these twisted truths taken out of content and lies? This is not acceptable, and it's not Lake Forest habit. This is not our behavior. We have a former chief that moved here. His family moved here. He had friends and relatives moved to this city because he felt it was such a great city. Any officer that works for the sheriff department can tell you there is a waiting list that people want to come serve here. Much of this can be proven that it is not true and is twisted. The facts is not in the hands of a person that would take and disgrace our city by doing this. I'm hoping that I've got people digging for the facts, and one of the officers said thank you to me because, this is not right. And I'm hoping that people will stop reading the blog and stop believing lies and come to us and get the truth. The thing with the Patola and the Ask Lake Forest, anybody that know me and the staff will tell you I'm going to be following through. They already heard it. They know follow through and get that. But for you to say and sow seeds of fear to our people that they're not safe, we're a murder capital of the world, and give this to a guest in our city, that is disgusting. And I hope all their friends and anybody that reads their blog, let them know that don't mess with my city. Like America said, if you don't love it, leave it. That's the best thing I could advise you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Boyds.
I, too, attended the policy committees for the California League of Cities last weekend in Ontario. I serve on the Tax Rev Committee, and on that committee, we actually put forth, and I got a unanimous consent to put forth the legislation that will help Lake Forest in the redevelopment mess that we were in. AB 2647, there, we could put that on the next agenda meeting, so that will be pushed forward. Last Thursday night, I met with district director for Tom Daly, and Tom Daly's staff is going to be forwarding that and how much this would help us as a clarification of the direction of the funds from the state back to the city of Lake Forest and helping to fix the mess that they've produced. Well, this Monday and Tuesday, or last Monday and Tuesday, I was attending the Lake Forest El Toro High School every 15 minutes, where the juniors and seniors came out and actually very dramatically saw the death of 3 of their classmates, and then they talked about the next day. It went so far as to the 3 that actually participated that had died that day in the accident didn't go home that night, so the families were impacted. So to see that and see the families the next day was truly remarkable, and in the faces of the children that were watching this, I'm sure it saved lives. And so I just want to thank Lake Forest City for participating in that too, because we did shut down the trees and our officers were there in helping. But California Highway Patrol, Doctors Ambulance, or Saddleback Memorial, there was a lot of people that participated in helping this become such a success, and it was seeing the kids' faces was testimony that it did reach a lot of people. So I have nothing further.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Nick.
Thank you. 5 minutes. I will start by first, Gail, thank you so much for providing me for the refresher course as to the sign ordinance and helping David to help me, and thank you for the time you put forth and provided me the information. It's amazing how recently I read it, I had to do with it, and yet I had to actually come back to you and say, what happened? Tell me where the law stands. But thank you for that, Gail. And thank you, Tom, for your ever-prompt actions and corrective actions and relocating those traffic directional signs, I guess we call them. Thank you, and also thank you for staying on top of it as far as when I reach out to you for when my constituents reach out to me, I reach out to you, and thank you very much. And Keith, I just want to say that I've been in finance and accounting for the better part of my life, actually all of my professional life, since I was in my late teens. I have not yet seen someone who can report on fund accounting and have so much fun doing it. I mean, it was not granted, the numbers were good, there was nothing in red, everything was in black. But yet, you were like a child in a candy store. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, it is great to hear good news and to hear it with someone who's having fun doing the reporting. Thank you so much. On a serious note, a job well done, you're on top of things, and thank you. Thank you so much on behalf of everyone who calls Lake Forest home or who has a business in Lake Forest. Thank you. Lieutenant, thank you. Thank you very much. Also, Sergeant Keller, all of your staff is just second to none. Second to none. And I will tell that to Sandra myself when I see her in a couple of days, hopefully. Thank you so much, Lieutenant. Mr. McGill, it's good to have you back. Thank you for being on top of things, as you always are. One of the reasons that I come to the City Hall as often as I do is so that I can stop by your office to pick up some chocolate. Those little chocolate bars that you have. My wife doesn't let me buy any chocolate, take any chocolate home. So you are... I stopped by to say hello, but I also stopped by to sort of help myself. I was distraught that you did not have any today.
Maybe his wife called him.
Maybe she did. Maybe she called you, and you actually put it in your drawer. But it's good to have you back. It's good to have you back, and thank you. Deborah, it's only 5 minutes, and I want to introduce a couple of things, so I'll be very, very quick. I'm going to need a lot more than 5 minutes to say how grateful I am to you and what you've done for the last 16 months in your capacity for me, and what you've done the last couple of weeks. Thank you. Thank you for everything. You know what you've done, so I'm not going to take the time because I'll be here. And I promised Mr. McGill today that I thought the meeting would be finished before 9. I want to live up to that promise. I said about 9, right? Yeah, about 9. So I want to live up to that promise. Thank you, David. Thank you. Thank you for your time the other day. You spent a good part of the afternoon with me, helping me remember what the sign ordinance is and helping me with a couple of other issues, such as the village pond. And you're going to bring, I'm sure you already have, given Tom was in a meeting, you kindly heard me, and you said that you would relay that to him, which I'm sure you already have, given that it was a few days ago. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything. I mean that so much. As I shared with you, my affection towards you goes a lot longer than only the last 16 months. And I hope you know that. Mr. Dunick and Mr. Smith, I'm going to thank both of you at the same time because, again, I want to live up to the 9 o'clock. Thank you both for everything, for being so accessible to me, for guiding me, for mentoring me. I am definitely a better person because I have the two of you in my life. I am certainly a better statesman because I have the two of you to look up to. Thank you. Thank you both. And Stephanie, thank you for always being there for me on weekends, in the evening. You are one phone call away. I thank you. No matter where you are, you always get back with me, and you help me do my job on behalf of the people who call Lake Forest home or who have businesses here. I thank you indeed for helping me deliver what I promised them I would deliver. I do need to put a motion in place, but I've run out of time, so why don't I just wait till next time. I thank my colleagues to my right, to my left, everybody who's still here. I don't know why you're still here. I know why I am. I have to be, but thank you. Thank you for being here, and I wish all of you the very best in life, and Happy Easter.
Thank you very much. And for my comments, first thing is I would like to ask for one other council member to support me to discuss our shared parking zoning code. Zoning code, I think it's Chapter 9.168 of the Municipal Code, and this is just with relation to well, the code was changed a few years ago, I think 2009, and I'm interested in just having a discussion about that and agendizing it so that we could potentially make a change.
I second this.
Okay, so it seems like there's consensus there. Just a few items that I'd like to make sure that whatever public is aware, that's still here is aware of. Tomorrow at the original Pepinos on Rockfield, I think from 3 to 5 is the time. I hope I'm right. But they're celebrating their 30th anniversary. Very exciting. They're a great restaurant. They have two here in town, one in Foothill and the old one there on Rockfield. And Joe lives here in town as well. He's part of the fabric of the community, so encourage as many people as possible to get out to that tomorrow. Then on May 3rd, I just want to reiterate that the Marine Corps adoption event is going to occur at El Toro High School. I believe the festivities start at 9:30 in the morning, and we're expecting lots and lots of people, so tell as many people as you can. Very excited about that adoption ceremony, and so I'm really looking forward to it. If I don't have the date incorrect, I believe it's May 16th is the Boys and Girls Club event at the Lake Forest Golf Center on Geronimo and Cherry, roughly. And I really would hope that my colleagues would consider joining me. I would be happy to sponsor the entire team so that we could do a fivesome, and I think it's a $45 cost, so you wouldn't have to fill out any forms for my paying for that. But I I think it would be great if as many of us as possible could play in a foursome or fivesome or whatever number we can put together. So if you're interested, please let me know. Just a couple more things. Leadership breakfast we held recently here in this room. It was a lot of fun, celebrating the volunteers and the leaders who are so active in our community and make Lake Forest such a great place. As was mentioned before, we had Angel Great Bobby Gritch as our keynote speaker, so that was a lot of fun. And I think most of the people who attended really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I actually got an autographed baseball from Bobby Gritch that we have in the council office now. So I've got it on the desk in there, as long as none of the staff have taken it home to their for their own collection. So not that I would expect that, but it was. So that was a lot of fun. I think everyone really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that we have so many people here in town that make Lake Forest such a great place to live. It was great to celebrate them. One other thing that I think we probably need another council member to support this as well, but I'd like to get some more information at some meeting in the future. It doesn't have to be anytime soon, but about the HERO program. It's the solar program that I know I've bumped into a few people at ACCOC over the last year that have talked about it, but just recently there have been a couple of comments through the Ask Lake Forest system. So
I second that.
Yeah, I was second that too. Some of the surrounding cities have started participating.
Okay, so we have consensus to agendize that. That's all I have. So I think we're like 1 minute before 9. So I'll adjourn the meeting.